We have an incredibly auspicious new moon in Cancer in Vedic astrology at the same, just before we're having this incredible rare transit with Mars, Rahu, and Uranus lining up in Vedic astrology, which I will tell you all about. But could be a lot of anxiety coming up, or you're feeling the volatility. I know you must be feeling the heat, whether you're in an actual heat wave like I am right now, or whether you're feeling the heated emotions or heated conversations. But there's volatility and heat brewing in the world. But this full moon brings us home to heart, home to devotion. It is a really a loving balm during this time that'll allow us to connect into our hearts, to peace, to be able to pray for that, and to shine that light out into the world. Hi, I'm Prema Gurreri, Vedic astrologer, business oracle, and welcome to Chart Your Path. I am so glad that you're here. Please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of my videos. And if you haven't taken the Sacred Wealth Code Oracle quiz or have had any of my free classes below, like Alignment from the Inside Out, and all the links for my readings and programs, you can find those down below. The new moon in Vedic astrology, the true placement of the planets, the sidereal zodiac, is on Thursday, the 28th of July at about 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's happening in Cancer at 11 degrees in the lunar mansion, the nakshatra of Pusha, which is a very auspicious lunar mansion. It's said to be the most auspicious for spiritual maturity. And if there was a time we needed our spiritual maturity, it is now. One of the symbolisms is the cow's udder. It is about giving nourishment. In the Sacred Wealth Code Archetype system, this is the great nurturer. This is the one that can give that selfless love, that selfless nourishment in order for something or someone else to grow. And it's done out of a deep level of devotion. And that's really what the energy of Cancer is all about, and especially what this new moon is. So let's remember, a new moon starts a new cycle, a new lunar cycle until the next new moon. It has a particular focus, and that's what we're talking about. And the focus is devotion. Of course, in your own chart, whatever Cancer represents, whatever house that is, that's where more specifically what's going on there. But this will give you the general outlook in lots of practical ways that you can use this energy. It is a dark moon. Dark moon is a new moon when the sun and the moon are actually together. But the moon owns Cancer. It's its own sign. It's its own house. And it's calling us to this deep level of nourishment and devotion, self-nourishment and nourishing and pouring that forth to that which you just want to nourish and love, like you would nourish a child or, a pet or a loved one. And so there's, Cancer brings on this emotional energy, and, emotions are energy in emotions. There's so much power. It's our attractor factor. How we feel is. But I want to invite you to think about a lake, and that the surface is where the emotional energy is playing out. And that could be the wind on the water, the ducks flying around, the boats, people swimming. There's a lot of activity. Emotions can go up and down and all around. But if you go down below the water, it gets quiet and more focused and more inward. And that's devotion. Devotion happens here in your heart. So it's important to recognize what you are devoted to. And in order to do that, you've got to pull your attention away from the surface. So if you're going through a lot of emotions, and with the energy we're having, the Mars-Uranus Rahu transit, which I'll talk about in a little bit here, there can be a lot of emotions going on. So we want to go inward, and we do that through spiritual practice. This is a time to reconnect with our heart. Heart is where devotion is. Have empathy for ourselves and others, but don't get lost in that empathy. And connect with divine love, like Ananda, like the bliss of the soul. And that we are not going to find outside. We are not going to find that necessarily in a love relationship, although communing together can bring us into that place of the heart in a conscious relationship. It is a place of where we need to surrender anything that's keeping us from that deeper devotion. And we have an opportunity that's really supporting us with surrender, because Jupiter, which is exalted in Cancer. It's not in Cancer right now. It happens to be in Pisces, but it's aspecting this new moon here. And Jupiter being the great sage and the teacher in the Sacred Wealth Code Archetype system, this is the spiritual teachings. This is the truth and the wisdom and the spiritual practices, and really focusing on your dharmic path. That light is being shown on this new moon to help it bring in grace and spiritual knowledge. And like I said in the beginning, we have an opportunity for spiritual maturity here. So one of the soul questions to drop in for yourself is, if you really tell yourself the truth, what practices do you need to engage in to help you develop into the next level of your own spiritual maturity? Because you know, your soul knows. This allows us to bring great awareness in of the whole, and the whole that we're a part of, not just ourselves, and our particular wholeness. And in fact, another part of the symbolism of this nakshatra of Pusha happens to be the flower and a circle and an arrow. And the flower represents the destiny that one aspires to. And the circle and the circle is the possibility of wholeness. And that is one of my great spiritual goals here, is recognizing my wholeness. And the arrow to be able to hit the target with strength, power, and precision. So just a very, very powerful spiritual time, although we just don't want to get lost in the surface emotional energy that sometimes Cancer can bring. Your intuition can be very high here. You want to make sure that you take time for spiritual practice, and your efforts will be like amplified. Like they will be so, like, 10 times you sit in meditation instead of it just being what you normally get out of, I'm going to say get out of a meditation, how you normally reach the truth you do in a meditation. Like that's going to be like 10 times as powerful on these days on the new moon and around the new moon. And I want to say for the whole new moon cycle, to really commit to what is a spiritual practice that allows you to connect to devotion. Is that a gratitude practice? Is that a meditation practice, or a particular kind of meditation practice? All my meditations that I create for my clients and in my programs and such are all dropping into the heart. This is so important. This is where you connect with the source of your being, with all possibilities. You hear your soul, you hear the truth, you feel the truth, see the truth, however your inner language is. It's very, devotion is not something we do to get something. It's something that we do to commune with the truth, basically. And this is, which is the practice of bhakti, inside out. What do you need to do to be more surrendered? So if you have something that's in your way, a belief, a relationship, a situation, you want to surrender that. I've got a whole surrender process in my Solutionary Blueprint program. And the essence of it is that you're taking whatever that you are feeling you're carrying right now or is in the way, and you're giving it over to the divine. You're recognizing that little old you doesn't have to carry this alone. If you're willing to give it over, you will be guided, you will know what to do next, you'll be free of carrying that heavy piano on your back by yourself. You don't have to. You don't have to. The divine's here to support you. So connect in with what's going to bring you that deeper devotion, okay? And Cancer does have a sentimental side, and when you have a memory of something, but it gives you a little bit of an ache in your heart, you're sentimental about it, then you're kind of remembering the painful part of it instead of the blessing in it. So if you find yourself doing that, reconnect to the blessing in it, and don't let old emotions drag you down. Don't do that. Get present and drop in. So use your practices to help you to do that. During this time, and especially during this transit, we need a huge amount of compassion, sensitivity, and really praying for peace, because it is a volatile period of time. Now, Mars and Rahu and Uranus are all lining up at 24 degrees on July 31st, August 1st, but I want to give that a couple days on either side of that as well, because you're already feeling this transit as they're coming closer. But this transit hasn't happened in many, many years, and it's not going to happen for quite a few years again. In Vedic astrology, we don't always look at the darker planets, the outer planets, but I do in this situation where something's conjunct, where it's lining up with it. Now, Mars is our great honorable warrior, is in Aries and is bringing on these heat waves, is moving fast. It wants to be productive, but it's a bit volatile. We want to stay on the spiritual side of warriorship, which means that we're here for positive change, that we are taking a stand and believing in something and not pushing too hard against something. But as you well know, we're feeling that in our world, in our political and our social situation. We are going to see upheaval and conflict and volatility. We're already seeing it. So there can be an impatience here and the potentiality for conflict, especially with this alignment. So I'm going to tell you how to manage this and mitigate it. So hang in with me. Rahu, the great magician, it amplifies everything. So anything it's with, it pumps it up. It makes it like 100 times as strong in its energy. So with the honorable warrior, it's making the honorable warrior energy really strong. And the energy in Aries is quick. It's proactive. It wants to do something like yesterday. So there's some impatience here. But the magician's also Rahu's very out of the box. It's very creative. It's alchemy. It's working with things that are, like I said, that we're not necessarily thinking of right here logistically. It's very creative, but it can also bring drama and complication in. So this energy, you want to err on the side with Rahu of creativity. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, how to actually practically bring that down to earth and use that. Now, the significance of Uranus is it brings things on unexpectedly. And Mars brings things on fast, and Uranus brings things on unexpectedly. And it's not a planet, like I said, of light. It's a darker planet. And it has, in this situation with these three lined up, can be volatile, it can be explosive, and unexpectedly, you can't expect it. So what I want you to do is, here's a few remedies for this situation, is slow things down. This is not a time to speed. It's also not time to do anything dangerous, climb big mountains, go rock climbing. It's a time to keep things simple, keep things grounded, to be disciplined, and especially spiritually disciplined. That's the honorable warrior, Mars, instead of impulsive would be the other side of that. And you need to be able to stay really grounded, and that's get your feet on the ground, like barefoot on the ground. Stay in your practicality. Don't forget your spiritual practice. Really understand, ground into your purpose. Be very clear about those things so that you don't get caught up in the unexpected energy and get ignited yourself. Also, you may have volatility that comes up within you. You may have rage that comes up within you. That is a normal part of all the different ways we feel. But what I want to invite you to do is channel that into something creative. So instead of, going off on somebody, journal, make that into poetry, write a song, use that, make creativity out of that, get productive with it in that way. Don't waste the energy, harness it. Like you've got a horse that's all riled up and going in every direction, harness it and go plow the field with it. Get into something creative if you're feeling that the irritation come up or the volatility come up within yourself, because we're all going to process a piece of this in our own way. Okay, so grounded, you're going to do your spiritual practices, you're going to get in your body, you're going to exercise and burn off some of this extra energy, but you're not going to do anything dangerous. If you keep your life simple during those few days, and like the 29th, the 30th, the 31st, the 1st, the 2nd, if you keep your life simple, then if something unexpected comes up, you're present, you're grounded, you know what to do. Okay? The good thing about this transit, it doesn't last very long. It's going to come, it's intense, but it's going to go. And then the other thing I want to talk to you about, there's so much that's happening right at the end of the month, beginning of the month here. Mercury is in Gandanta just right at that same time, right at the last day of the month, first day of the month. And your communication is going to be changing from this emotionally based Cancer type communication to this sort of fiery Leo communication. And that's a big jump. But in between, it goes to the Gandanta point, which is where the karmic knots get untied. So things can get confusing for just a couple of days, or, you're not sure which way to respond to something, then don't put it off till after this transit. take the time for yourself and turn inwards, then your communication is going to get very open, very outward, and more direct after that. And then the other aspect we have here is Saturn is aspecting this new moon. It's aspecting Cancer because it's retrograde and back in Capricorn. And so it can bring a seriousness, as Cancer always does, or you may even feel a heaviness with this new moon. But what I want to invite you to do is to go deeper, because Saturn just wants to help you to get to the truth. To penetrate down through anything and get to the truth. And devotion and what you're devoted to is absolutely the truth. So I'd love to hear for you. What's up during this transit? How are you feeling? What are you feeling? What are you dealing with during this time? And what are you devoted to? Answer all my comments. I would love to hear what's going on for you. And if you haven't already subscribed, I really appreciate you subscribing, liking, and sharing this. And I do one-on-one sessions. I do have programs and free stuff, and all those links are down below. All right, so much love to you.